Hi folks, I just want to read a couple of verses from the Bible. I'm reading from the book of Judges, chapter 2, verses 10 through to 11, which says this: After that generation, the generation that I've just been speaking about, after that generation died, another generation grew up who did not acknowledge the Lord or remember the mighty things that he had done for Israel. The Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight and served the image of the Baals. Interesting time in the history of Israel. You know, the only thing we learn from history is that we really learn nothing from history. And because we learn nothing from history, it appears that we are doomed to keep making the same mistakes as previous generations. Over and over again, the generations make the same mistakes because they learn nothing from history. And nowhere is this more apparent than in the history of Israel. From the day that they left Egypt up until the present day, really, they have had periods when they followed their God and prospered, but only to turn away from God at some later stage and fall into slavery to other nations. They were perpetually being attacked by other nations when they went through these times of disobedience to God. And this scenario continued for hundreds of years, and apparently they learned nothing from their own history because they continued to repeat the same mistakes. And finally God had enough of them and prophesied that he would scatter them to the four corners of the earth. And this began to happen around AD 70 and has lasted up until 1948. And as we all know, in 1948 they became a nation once again, because various prophets had also prophesied that although God would scatter them to the four corners of the earth, he would restore them and bring them back, and we've seen it in our generation. He's done it. Although we know from the Bible there will be a happy ending for the nation of Israel, we have to ask the question, why on earth did they rebel against God in the first place and suffer so much as a result? Why didn't they just simply obey God and prosper? Doesn't make sense. The only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. And you know, folks, the UK is going down the same road as Israel went down. This country over the last few hundred years has been a Christian country, and we have to say that it's been a great country. There have been, up until recent years, nowhere better or safer to live than in the United Kingdom. We have been a stable and a prosperous country. But I think it was around the 1960s that things began to change in this country of ours, and we began to embrace a hedonistic lifestyle. If you don't understand what that means, it means a little bit of what you fancy does you good. That's really, in a nutshell, what hedonism is all about. And gradually all restraint has been thrown to one side, and the Christian God, who incidentally is the same as the God of Israel, has been cast to one side in our land. We've forgotten him, we've turned away from him. And now, finally, in the 21st century, creationism has been replaced in our schools by the teaching of evolution as an explanation for our existence. Christian morality has been thrown overboard, and now literally anything goes. I'll repeat that scripture that I started off with, but I'll slightly change it. Another generation has grown up who knows nothing about the Lord, nor what he has done for the United Kingdom. Fits, doesn't it? Very apt scripture. Look what's happened now. A European government controls us. Didn't someone once tell me that we fought 2 world wars to prevent that from happening? And yet it's happened. Our culture is in danger of extinction because of mass immigration. Our economy is not growing. If we disagree with our government, then we are called racists, bigots, phobics, Wow. You know, folks, this country is at an all-time low, and we all know it, don't we? It's the thing, wherever you go, people are talking about it, at bus stops, in pubs, in cafes, wherever you meet people, they're talking about the state of our nation. But when will we wake up and realise that what happened to Israel is now happening to us, and for the same reason? We have abandoned God. And you know, here's the biggest problem. We have no assurance of a happy ending like Israel were given through the prophets. You know, the Bible has a great track record for prophesying the future. It's proven to be incredibly accurate. It prophesied that such a time as this would come upon the whole earth. And it speaks of the great tribulation that will come to test the earth. It's my belief that we're on the verge of this great tribulation, and it's also the belief of many thousands of Christians around the world. But you know, God has provided a way of escape for those who will believe in his Son, Jesus Christ. And for those who will follow Jesus Christ, God has provided a way of escape. You see, Jesus died that we might be forgiven, and that we might escape the judgment that is coming upon this earth. As we enter into yet another new year, let's ask ourselves this question. If Christ were to come right now to take his church, remove his church off this earth, would we be ready? I ask myself constantly this question. Will I be ready? You know, I never make New Year's resolutions. I think they're a waste of time. But I constantly have this resolve within me that I want to be ready for when Jesus comes and takes his church off this earth. Okay, folks, think about this throughout this coming week and throughout this coming new year. Have a blessed week and a blessed new year. Bye for now.